Having a character overpowered from the start is like starting a game using cheats, and sometimes that's pretty damn good. So check out the top 10 manhwa where the MC is overpowered from the start. Can souls be ranked? Are there better and worse souls? In this manhwa, the answer is yes. Each soul has an essence. They are called ideya and can be manifested in the real world. The ideyas can have any shape, whether a sword or a brick, but each soul has a positive and negative effect. This is how the society is assembled. The best ideyas are at the top of the civilization and the worst F ranks are the trash. Because of this, our MC is constantly bullied by all the students who have quote-quote better souls. That's why he just wants to go unnoticed and get a degree. Besides, if they start to investigate him further, they may be able to discover his secret. This world belief is that ideyas are soul-bound, and well, that's not entirely correct. Instead, it is more connected to the personality of the one who's wielding it. Park was abused as a child and forced to kill people at an early age. This caused his personality to break. On the surface, he's just another average student. Still, he goes into defense mode in extreme situations with a tremendous killer instinct, able to reach S-rank level. The manhwa is packed with action. It helps present each character's ideyas and pasts, which is critical to understanding the connections between their weapons and themselves. The plot and writing is rather good, but what caught my attention was that they didn't fear to address a more sensitive topic, like the rivalry between the South and North Korea. In addition, the art is captivating and conveys the speed of attacks and Park's murderous vibe. Our MC's mother always said that he should be a shaman, and if he didn't follow this path, he would die very young. Unfortunately, a mother's curse is a powerful thing. As our MC was leaving college, he was run over and died. Not again, Truck-kun! He's then reborn in another world, still in the Victorian era, but with some small differences. In this world, there is magic. The MC would become an influential person in this new world, both for his magic skill, but for his impact on the countries, from helping revolutions to hunting magical creatures. His only way of living was creating several false identities, like Van Helsing, and traveling the world. When he was finally about to change his identity again, the train he was traveling on was attacked by terrorists. In this fight, his mask and documents were destroyed. Still, before he gets into trouble, he decides to get the identity of one of the passengers who passed away. The authorities were investigating the train attack, so he couldn't immediately discard his identity. The only issue was that the person he was disguising as was a teacher on his way to the most renowned school of magic, where all the spotlight is on. Several plots will unfold because of this unplanned identity he had to acquire in a hurry, which is precisely one of the best points of the manhwa. Visually, the manhwa is impressive and well action-packed, but one of the highlights is the secondary characters. Although our MC is exciting, throughout the plot we get to know several other characters that give more depth to the universe. This point is more of a personal preference, but it might interest you. The setting. It all takes place in a Victorian era in a country resembling Prussia, giving it a unique touch compared to other manhwas. Mercenary Enrollment is a banger from minute 1. At the start, the world in which our MC resides seems quite ordinary, yet it clearly hides several secrets. Yu Aijin was declared dead when his body wasn't found in a plane crash that led to his parents' deaths, leaving his sister and grandfather to live with the loss of most of the family. But Aijin didn't die. Instead, he miraculously survived, losing his memory with the accident trauma. Finally, after several years, Aijin recovers his memories and returns home. But he's not the same. Aijin is a distinct person with looks that brings curiosity and envy. He stands out like a sore thumb. And as he returns to school, he is almost instantly targeted by bullies. Even worse, he discovers that his sister is the punch bag of her class. But like I said, Aijin ain't the same. He hides a deep combat knowledge as he was raised in a military base and became one of the most powerful among his peers. Mercenary Enrollment is a manhwa that makes your heart race with several impactful scenes and an exciting plot. The story behind Aijin's past is dark and profound, intertwined with hate, fights, love, betrayals, and everything you would want from an action drama. Even though the plot is what really grabbed me, the art can't be left out. It's funny how a simple change in the character's expression can convey so many feelings. And if you love some good fighting scenes, Mercenary Romance is the perfect read for you. Kim was an orphan, and now as an adult he wishes to save the orphanage that took care of him. But even with all of his success, he didn't have enough money to aid them. If nothing changes, the orphanage will soon have to be closed due to lack of resources. The quickest way to raise money is by entering the tower, which appeared years ago. As you level up, you will find different challenges and opponents on each floor, and the materials found can be sold for a significant fortune. But only those selected by the tower can participate, and no information exists on the challenges. Then, one day, a YouTube channel was sent to Kim. A version of him in the future recorded all the challenges and learnings and sent them to the past. Kim will enter the tower to be the strongest newbie anyone will ever see and impress the viewers with his unique knowledge. The newbie is too strong is still in the beginning, but with the potential to be a great story. Each floor has been engaging and the MC is really charismatic. Jin was one of the best Legends of Legends players. Yeah, totally not that Riot's game. He was an outstanding player who unfortunately never got to first place. But he didn't have to worry about that anymore. In 2022, the first portals began to appear around the world. It started spitting out monsters and at the same time it increased the strength of humans, making many become mana users. After hoarding money for over 8 years, Jin was finally able to receive an awakening. The process would allow him to wake up his talents and could finally be part of the teams that tackle the dungeons. The only problem was that Jin didn't receive any combat skills, nothing that could be used in real life. 8 years of his life were thrown away in a few seconds, or at least he thought. He's one of the few with a level 3 ability. His gaming skill is extremely rare and allow him to receive one more ability, the Gacha skill. The anti-impact, look what you created. Using mana, he can gacha powers and information from the greatest fighters that ever lived. Although it relies on luck or the writer's good humor, it is a very overpowering skill that brings several possibilities to the plot. With a distinctive art and good humor, the manhwa is completely action focused. But it's worth noting that if you're looking for a deep story, this isn't the manhwa you're looking for. There are several villains and plots, but so far they are pretty much as deep as a puddle. In the 22nd century, a new game was released, and with it, the technology of ultra-immersive games was born, exactly replicating your body in-game and having direct effects in real life. I know, looks like several others we've seen, but wait a second. The game became super famous for using actual moves and replicating them virtually. Our MC became one of the most recognized professional players, but he clearly hired a terrible lawyer and didn't read the terms of the contract. Just a tip, but always read the tiny letters. Because of that, in 2039, when he was expelled from his team, he didn't receive anything and still lost the character he took so long to develop. After a night of heavy drinking, he had a hangover so bad he returned in time. 10 years in the past before entering the professional scene. And this time, he won't hire a crook lawyer, or at least he won't need it since he'll create his own team. Incarnation of the Strongest Sword God is another manhwa of going back in time, being overpowered, and with online games. Although there are hundreds of manhwas just like that, this one is an adaptation of a famous novel that was one of the first to address these themes. But unfortunately, only now it has been adapted into manhwa. The art is very well done and western-like. Look at the armors. And the action scenes are interesting, but what matters the most is if this story will be exciting and hold me to the following chapter. Right now, there are only 8 chapters, so I'm still unsure. Still, it's a good recommendation for those looking for overpowered characters. Roman was never strong and didn't want to be the Dimitri's successor, even though he was one of the greatest noble houses in the kingdom. But because of his money and weak personality, he was falsely blackmailed for raping another noble. Seeing no way to prove his innocence, Roman takes his own life. Don't worry, the story doesn't end here. A soul from another world enters Roman's body. This is our MC, he was the leader of the Heavenly Demon clan. Although Roman is overpowered, he still has to improve as a noble. More than just overcoming each challenge with battle skills, he needs to work with others and develop them to be part of his army. I'm not particularly a fan of stories with Murray, but this one works more as a background information to justify the strength of our MC. In addition, a detail that won me over is that our romantic couple is not stupid. Unlike other manhwas, where the promised marriage is broken and the lady after some time wishes that they never did it, like in House Pendragon, in this manhwa, she's essential for the story, has a will of her own and the ability to grow as a character. Daven and Kajin were born on the same day. Kajin was blessed with a body capable of reaching the highest level of a swordsman, whereas Daven was born weak and without an arm. Even though they were cousins, Kajin had no fondness for Daven, especially when seeing the eternal effort that Daven had while training. Abandoned by even his parents, Daven is sold to Kajin's family to be just another slave. But Daven remained focused while Kajin slowly indulged in all the pleasures. Finally, after decades of humiliation, Daven managed to challenge and defeat Kajin. Kajin can't accept the defeat, so he has Daven arrested and accuses him of having a contract with a demon to obtain such power. As a lowly slave, Daven has no way to defend himself and is sentenced to be tortured until the end of his life. But this would not be the end of Daven yet. Even after he died, he would have no rest. Many years in the future, his soul would be summoned into Viken's body, a noble of the house of Adenkaga. In this future, Kajin is known as a great hero, and Daven as a demon. But Adenkaga's house is one of the few that doesn't believe in this lie, and has a promise to clear Daven's name. In my opinion, Standard of Reincarnation is literally what the title says, Standard. It is an average manhwa. Its art is different, but neither bad nor good. The plot, although interesting, it's still underdeveloped. It is highly action-packed, with many exciting scenes, but has a slower development. In the end, it's a nice but average manhwa. The Emperor of Lusclan fell in love with an ancient legend that in the past his family was able to summon warriors and monsters from other worlds. The Emperor sacrificed his sons, daughters and subjects to recreate this miracle, really Full Metal style. In his first summon, he brought just a simple human. So, Sang was pulled from Korea and thrown into a new world. Still, seeing that he was just another ordinary person, the Emperor had him discarded, but his ambition was still not accomplished. The Emperor would continue to corrupt himself to extract powerful monsters from other dimensions. The magic was a success and more dangerous monsters appeared. But the Emperor was wrong. Sang was not an ordinary person. Sang would become one of the greatest heroes many years in the future. He would become a revolutionary with his companions and destroy the empire. After a long battle, Sang ends the Emperor's control and decides to live a peaceful life. But the plans of his allies were different. If Sang remained, he would become a great king, with several supporters besides him. For them to have a chance of becoming great leaders, Sang would need to disappear. So they forced a spell that would return him back to Earth. Fuck, these people don't learn shit. They keep underestimating Sang. The boy became hell pissed and figured out how to perform magic on Earth and open a portal back. He returned after several years, and now his former allies have become kings and queens. But this is only the beginning of Sang's revenge. Although the art style is nothing special and the plot is super typical, transmigrating to the other world once more is well executed. Sang is not an MC out of control after his revenge, he's much more human. In addition, the light humor helps connect the secondary characters, who are also very charismatic. Shin's just an impressive doctor, but it only got him into trouble, being extremely requested by everyone and an outcast among his colleagues. Hey, I know how to fix that. Frakun, here's another MC for you to mow down. Shin is then transported to another world, where he is called Rei. This is a fantasy world where monsters, warriors and mages exist. Clearly, a world that could use medicine. If it wasn't for a tiny detail, in this world, magic could replace medicine, making all Rei's past efforts useless, and opening up the possibility for him to learn magic. But hey, who said that what's bad can get worse? Rei has so much mana and his healing spells are so powerful that almost no one can withstand them. Rei will try to fit his medicine learning into this new world, even though he is one of the most powerful mages who ever lived. Frankly, this manhwa is very common, There are several similar ones, but it is still interesting to read, mainly because our MC is so overpowered that no one can believe that Ray wants to continue being a doctor, even though he has the highest level of magic power. So, leave below in the comments if you have any manhwas about overpowered MCs that I haven't mentioned. And for more content about anime, manga and manhwa, click on the subscribe button and see ya, weebs!